keeping. I think what's something we've invented in the last couple of sessions is using the QA feature. And so, yeah, the questions are per session. And so the beauty of using that QA feature is they'll be saved. If we navigate back to those previous sessions, you'll see in the QA section for those sessions, all the questions that were asked are still there, the answers are still there. And so if you use the QA feature in this session, that will keep them saved, and then Ryan or others can hop in and answer them. Okay, with that, I'm just going to hand straight over to Ryan. We're moving with pace through these, which is excellent. Ryan is from Uncanny, and he's going to be telling us all about Uncanny Automator and how I guess you've been using AI for WordPress automation. So Ryan, I'll take myself off stage and mute myself, and the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Tom. Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm going to switch to my slides. It looks like, are they? They are still shared.
I apologize. There we go.
Okay. No. Okay. Tom, you can see my slides, right? And everyone can see them?
Yes, that's all good now. I pressed the wrong thing.
So I'm going to go through some slides first, and then I'll take a look at some of the QA questions. So I'll just switch over now. So as Tom mentioned, I'm from Uncanny Automator. I'm from Uncanny Owl, and we create a plugin that's called Uncanny Automator, which allows automation features inside WordPress. So in today's session, I'm going to talk about some of the new features for AI that we released in an update yesterday for a free plugin called Uncanny Automator. I'll also cover some examples of how new features that we released can be used on a WordPress site. So if you are not familiar with Uncanny Automator, I'll just give you a very quick introduction. So the basic idea is that we allow users to create workflows where when something happens, we can make other things happen. So it allows you to create to connect WordPress plugins, sites, and apps together. It's kind of like Zapier, but inside WordPress. So on screen right now, I have a sample recipe where basically what I'm saying is whenever a user submits this formidable contact form, then at the bottom, we can create a conversation in Help Scout. So we can create a new ticket. And then maybe if the user is from a particular organization, like in this case, we're going by email domain, or they have a VIP membership, then we can prioritize it and send a direct message to someone in Slack or even a channel or something like that. So the idea is that you can create recipes, some that incorporate AI, and have them run automatically on your WordPress site. So in yesterday's update that we released, so this was Uncanny Automator 4.15, one of the big announcements was that we introduced GPT-4 support and AK support. So previously we'd had support for other models, but for anyone with API access for GPT-4, they can now use that in recipes. So that means we can use the latest model and also increase token length, so you can send more context and get longer responses. The second announcement in yesterday's release was that we're adding a lot more actions related to GPT-4 and trying to make things a bit easier to use in automations. So some of these things would be like translating text from one language to another language, or generating SEO titles and descriptions, or analyzing sentiment, or even correcting spelling and grammar, so that you can use these types of features in your recipes and automations. So I'm going to show you some examples next of how you could incorporate these AI tools into workflows and automations on a WordPress site. So in this first example, what we have here is a recipe where anytime someone submits a new post with a specific trigger, then we want to share something in an email campaign and also to social media. So in the actions here, I'm showing that we're going to generate two excerpts. The first excerpt is going to be used in an email campaign, and the second one is for social sharing. And then I've got actions to actually do those things based on the content or the responses we get from OpenAI. So I'm going to drill down into the actions so you can see how that works and how we use content between different objects in a recipe. So this first example, what I'm doing is I'm generating an excerpt based on the content of the post that triggered the recipe. So in this case, you can see there's a token or variable in the content section, which basically takes the content and has OpenAI turn it into a summary of up to 250 words. And then I'm going to take that content, so that summary, and use it in a new email campaign. So in this example, I'm using some information from the post that triggered it. So the campaign name comes from the post title. And then I'm also using that in the subject. And then I'm using the response from OpenAI in the email content. So you can see that what goes out to users in the email will be that 250 word generated summary. And then so people can see the full article too, then I'm also using the URL from the post that triggered it. And then I would want to share it on social media. So in this example, like we generate another excerpt with OpenAI, but it's going to be the same as the first action. And I'm saying, okay, share what we created with this specific Facebook group. So it's called Uncanny Automator users. And then for the image that we share, it's going to be the post featured URL that triggered the recipe. But you could use AI for this as well. So we have support for DALL-E for generating images. You could use that as well. And then the message of the post that we're sharing on social media would be what AI generates based on what was submitted for the original post. So then once this recipe or automation goes live, then anytime someone publishes a post with that tag, then we automatically generate the excerpts, we share on social, and we send out the email campaign. So that's one way that you could use the new actions that we introduced. So in the second example that I'm going to walk through, we're taking a user's support request. So this is from a customer. And let's suppose that this support form is on a page for non-English users. So we want to provide support in a different language potentially. So we're going to take that form submission, so the request from the customer. We're going to use actions then to first translate it, then analyze sentiment. So maybe we want to give higher priority to people that seem upset or frustrated. So if there's negative sentiment, then we can make it a bit more important and prioritize it in the queue. And then to help with ticket triage for the help desk, maybe we want to generate a 50-word summary so that someone can quickly see the high-level overview of the ticket and then decide how to assign it and how to resolve it. So if I drill down again into some of these GPT-4 actions, in the first one, we're translating the text. So we're taking, in this case, the content of a Gravity form entry and translating it into English. So we'd send that over to OpenAI, get the response, and then we can use it in the recipe. So the next action would be to analyze sentiment. So in this case, we're going to take the translated text that we received back from OpenAI and have it tell us whether it's a positive submission, negative, or neutral. And then the third action would be the generation of the excerpt, so the summary for the triage. And I'm going to skip that one since we showed it in the last example. And then finally, we're creating the ticket. In this case, like the workflow is, if it's negative sentiment, we give it higher priority. So the first step in the action then is, of course, to take the user information and create the ticket based on that. And then in the content of the ticket, we're using a combination of what was in the Gravity form submission, as well as what OpenAI returned to us. So we've got the product identification from Gravity Forms. We've got the summary, so the quick summary that we got from OpenAI. We've got the English version of the ticket. And then we've got the original submission from the user in the original language. And then finally, of course, based on sentiment analysis, we're giving it a priority of critical. So now anytime someone submits a ticket through that form, we run through all those things, have OpenAI process it, and then the support team gets a summarized and appropriately prioritized version in this case, Fluent Support. So that's basically an introduction to the new features. I'm going to switch now to questions because we only have a couple minutes for the demo. So I'm going to take a look and see what QA has been entered. Performance due to automation. So the first question, sorry, is from Jeremy, just about performance. Not any hits from Automator directly, but OpenAI API use can be kind of slow. So in some cases, especially with large token values, then I would say that responses can take some time to receive back. So in Uncanny Automator, there is support for running things in the background or even adding a delay to things. And in some cases, longer submissions to OpenAI, like if you have it in real time so that you submit a form and you need to wait for the response to perform actions for the end user, then it might be the user waiting for a couple of seconds. So in some cases for OpenAI use, we do recommend using background actions or adding a delay, just to make sure users in the front end aren't waiting for a response, which can take some time. For the question from Megan, I can't really speak to that. I am not familiar with the situation there, so I can't really add any comments. I don't see any other. I'm going to go through the chat and try to skim it. But Tom, have you seen any questions that maybe I should address?
Yeah, let me have a look through chat. I don't think so, other than the couple that have come through into the Q&A.
Okay. Megan, I saw your link. I'm going to open that in the background. If you want to follow up separately on our site, then for sure we could comment. So you can just submit a contact form on our site, and I can take a look at that. Oh, thanks, Chris.
Have you seen any kind of what have been like the coolest automations that you've seen so far?
I don't know. We've seen a big variety.
Yeah.
I think the examples are some of the more creative uses. Mostly we do see it for a lot of content generation. Again, like we're doing a lot with e-learning in particular. So I'd say we see a lot of content generation there. Yeah, it's pretty wide in terms of the variety that we see though, in terms of feedback from users.
Awesome, cool. Okay, well, I think that was our next speaker, Vito, just turning up. And so I think we're probably ready to jump over to the next session. Oh, I realize I'm talking, but I'm not actually on screen. Let me jump on screen just so people know who I am. That just leaves me to thank you, Ryan, for showing us the work you've been doing. That looks super cool and really powerful. I mean, kudos for just getting that out as quickly as you obviously had. This stuff's moving so fast. So
yeah, sure.
I think part of the limitation here can just even be imagining what all of this new capabilities can be applied to. That seems like a great use case. Okay, so similar to last time, I'm going to end the session here, folks. Jump over to the next one, and you should all be pulled over there automatically in the next couple of seconds. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you.